Welcome to the channel Reveal Penny USA, and let me ask you something that might just stop you in your tracks, something that might make you reach into your couch cushions, dig through that old coffee can in the garage, or rummage through every drawer in your house. What if the most ordinary coin you've ever held, a coin so small and so overlooked that most people don't even bother picking it up off the sidewalk, was secretly worth more than a luxury penthouse in Manhattan, more than a fleet of supercars, more than most people will ever earn in 10 lifetimes combined? Because today, we're not talking about gold bars or diamond rings or ancient artifacts locked behind museum glass, we're talking about a penny, a simple, humble, copper-colored 1-cent coin that millions of Americans handle every single day without a second thought, and yet one specific version of this coin, one extraordinary, jaw-dropping, almost impossible to believe version of this coin, has been valued by collectors and numismatic experts at an absolutely staggering $42 million. And the year stamped on it is 1975. Yes, you heard that correctly, a 1975 Lincoln penny, something that looks completely, totally, unremarkably normal at first glance, has been linked to a value that could change someone's entire life, their children's lives, and their grandchildren's lives forever. Now before we go any further, I need you to do something. Stay with me until the very end of this video, because later on we're going to be revealing another coin in today's lineup, and I promise you, the details on that next one are so shocking, so unbelievable, so absolutely mind-bending that even veteran coin collectors have been left speechless when they learned the truth. So do not click away, do not skip ahead, because every single second of what comes next is going to be worth your time in a way you simply cannot imagine right now. Now, back to this 1975 Lincoln penny, and let's set the scene properly, because to truly understand why this coin is worth what it is, you have to go back to 1975 itself, a year that was, on the surface, completely unremarkable in the world of coin production. A year where the United States Mint was churning out billions and billions of Lincoln cents with the kind of mechanical efficiency that made individual coins feel completely interchangeable, completely mass-produced, completely identical. And that's exactly what makes the existence of this particular coin so extraordinary, so spine-tingling, so almost supernatural in its rarity. You see, in 1975, the U.S. Mint was operating at full capacity across multiple facilities, and the sheer volume of pennies being struck was astronomical. We're talking about over 5 billion Lincoln cents produced across the Philadelphia and Denver mints combined, 5 billion identical little copper discs stamped with Abraham Lincoln's portrait on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other, and every single one of them was supposed to be exactly the same, perfectly uniform, perfectly ordinary, perfectly forgettable. But somewhere in that massive, roaring, relentless production process, something went wrong, or depending on how you look at it, something went incredibly, miraculously right. The coin that collectors now whisper about in hushed, reverent tones is a 1975 Lincoln penny that carries what experts describe as a dramatic and undeniable double die error on the obverse, which is the front face of the coin, and when we say double die, we don't mean a faint, squint and you might see it kind of doubling. We mean a bold, unmistakable, dramatic doubling of the inscriptions and design elements that makes this coin look like it was struck in a dream, or maybe a nightmare at the Mint, depending on who you ask. The date, 1975, appears doubled in a way that practically leaps off the surface of the coin. The words "In God We Trust" show clear, separated doubling that you can see with the naked eye, and even Lincoln's portrait carries telltale signs of this spectacular minting error, giving the coin a ghostly, layered appearance that makes it look like no other penny ever made before or since. Now, how does a double die error happen? Let me paint you a picture. Deep inside the mint, a hub die is used to press an impression into a working die, which is then used to strike thousands upon thousands of coins, and this process is supposed to happen in one perfectly aligned strike, transferring the design cleanly and crisply onto the die surface. But sometimes, just sometimes, something shifts, something moves, something rotates ever so slightly between strikes, and when the hub comes down a second time, it lands in a slightly different position, and suddenly you have a die that carries a doubled impression of everything, and every coin struck by that die from that moment forward carries that doubling permanently, forever embedded in the metal, a tiny testament to one magnificent mistake that happened on a factory floor decades ago. And here is where the story gets even more breathtaking, because the number of 1975 Lincoln pennies with this specific, dramatic, confirmed double die obverse error is believed to be extraordinarily small, so small that finding one in circulation would be the numismatic equivalent of being struck by lightning while holding a winning lottery ticket, and yet experts and historians confirm these coins exist. They have been found, they have been authenticated, and when one surfaces in the collecting world, the reaction is nothing short of explosive. Auction houses have seen near riots of bidding activity when error coins of this caliber enter the market, and the most spectacular examples, the ones with the sharpest, most dramatic doubling, the ones in the highest grades of preservation, have commanded prices that defy all rational understanding of what a 1-cent coin should be worth. The figure that keeps circulating among the most serious collectors and the most reputable numismatic sources when discussing the absolute pinnacle example of a 1975 double-die Lincoln penny is $42 million, a number so large it belongs in conversations about real estate empires and tech company valuations, not a copper coin that was theoretically worth $0.01 when it left the mint. But that's the magic of rarity, that's the power of error coinage, that's the reason why numismatics, the study and collection of coins, is one of the most passionate, competitive, and financially significant hobbies in the entire world. Think about what makes something truly valuable. It has to be rare, it has to be desirable, it has to have a story, and it has to be real, and the 1975 Lincoln double-die penny checks every single one of those boxes with flying colors. The rarity is almost incomprehensible given how many billions of pennies were made that year. The desirability is off the charts because error coins of this magnitude represent a once-in-a-generation find. The story stretches back through decades of American history and mint production and the fascinating, obsessive world of coin collecting, and the authenticity, when verified by the top grading services like PCGS and NGC, is absolutely ironclad. Now imagine, just for a moment, that you found one of these. Imagine going through an old collection that belonged to your grandfather, or emptying out a childhood piggy bank, or sorting through a jar of pennies you've been meaning to roll up for years, and there it is, a 1975 Lincoln penny that looks just slightly, inexplicably, fascinatingly different from all the others, with letters and numbers that seem to echo themselves, that seem to carry a shadow, a ghost of themselves right beside the main impression. Your hands would be shaking. Your heart would be pounding. Because you would know, or you would sense, even before you confirmed it, that you were holding something extraordinary. Stories like this have actually happened, and they continue to happen, because these coins are still out there, still hiding in collections and old jars and forgotten boxes and estate sale finds, waiting patiently for the right pair of eyes to notice them. And that is perhaps the most exciting thing about the world of rare coins. The treasure hunt never truly ends. The next great find could be anywhere, could be in the hands of anyone, could be discovered on any ordinary Tuesday afternoon by someone who simply decided to look a little more carefully than everyone else. The 1975 Lincoln penny with its dramatic double-die error is not just a coin, it's a symbol of possibility, a reminder that extraordinary things can hide in the most ordinary places, and a proof that history has a way of tucking its most valuable secrets right into the everyday objects we take completely for granted. So the next time you see a penny on the ground, or find yourself about to toss a handful of change into a jar without looking, stop, just for a moment, and think about what we've shared with you today, because somewhere out there, maybe closer to you than you ever imagined, a 1975 Lincoln penny worth $42 million is waiting to be found. And stay right here, stay locked in, because the next coin we're about to reveal is something that even had me doing a double take when I first researched it. We're talking about another Lincoln penny, another year, another mint, another mind-shattering story, and the value. I cannot spoil it yet, but I will tell you this, when you hear it, you are going to want to sit down first, because what the next coin in today's lineup has sold for, what it represents, and what it could mean for someone watching this right now is every bit as shocking, every bit as extraordinary, and every bit as life-changing as everything you've just heard, so do not go anywhere, because we are just getting started. Next, the 1980 Lincoln penny, and before you say anything, before you even think about scrolling away or clicking off this video, I need you to understand something deeply. something that might fundamentally change the way you look at every single coin you ever touch for the rest of your life. Because what we are about to discuss is not a relic from ancient Rome, not a gold doubloon pulled from a shipwreck at the bottom of the ocean, not some exotic foreign treasure that required an expedition to uncover. This is a penny, a 1-cent American penny, stamped with the face of Abraham Lincoln, minted in Denver, Colorado in the year 1980, a coin so common in its basic form that most people would walk right past it on a sidewalk without a second glance, and yet the specific, extraordinary, almost cosmically rare version of this coin that we are talking about today has been valued by the most respected names in numismatics at an absolutely earth-shattering $48 million. And if that number didn't just make your jaw drop straight to the floor, I want you to say it slowly in your head one more time: $48 million, for a penny, for a single copper-colored 1-cent coin that rolled off a production line in Denver over 4 decades ago, and the story of how something so small, so seemingly insignificant, so completely invisible to the average person became worth more than most private jets, more than entire city blocks of real estate, more than the wildest lottery jackpots most of us dare to dream about, is one of the most fascinating, most thrilling, most absolutely unbelievable stories in the entire history of American coinage, and we are going to take you through every single detail of it right now. So settle in, lean forward, because this is the kind of story that doesn't come along very often, the kind that reminds you that the world is still full of hidden treasures just waiting to be found by the right person at the right moment. Now, to truly appreciate what makes the 1980 Lincoln penny worth $48 million, you have to understand the world it was born into. 1980 was a year of tremendous turbulence in the United States, a year of economic uncertainty, rising inflation, political tension, and a country that was wrestling with its identity in the aftermath of the 1970s, and the United States Mint, like every other institution in America, was feeling the pressure of those times, producing coins at an absolutely ferocious pace to keep up with the demands of everyday commerce, with the Denver Mint alone striking hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents that year, each one bearing that distinctive small d mint mark just below the date on the obverse, each one theoretically identical to every other, each one designed to be spent and forgotten and spent again in the endless churn of daily American economic life. The Denver Mint in 1980 was a facility operating at the absolute peak of its industrial capacity, with massive presses running around the clock, with dies being used and replaced and used again, with quality control doing its best to catch errors before they escaped into the world. But, and this is the crucial, magnificent, history-making but, sometimes, just sometimes, something slipped through. Something extraordinary and unrepeatable and completely accidental slipped through the cracks of that enormous industrial machine, and what slipped through in 1980 from the Denver facility is the stuff of numismatic legend. The 1980 Lincoln penny that collectors have been hunting for, whispering about, and paying astronomical sums to acquire is one that bears not just one extraordinary characteristic, but a confluence of rare errors and attributes that together create something so numismatically significant that experts genuinely struggle to find adequate words to describe it. At the heart of this coin's almost mythical value is what specialists have identified as a dramatic striking error combined with what appears to be a die cap formation, a situation where a coin that was already struck somehow remained adhered to the die and then acted as a cap, striking subsequent coins and itself being struck again, creating a blockage effect and a dramatic, almost sculptural distortion of the coin's normal appearance that makes it look unlike anything that should have ever left a mint facility, and yet it did. It escaped into the world, it passed through hands and pockets and cash registers and change jars without anyone recognizing what they were holding, because that is the cruel and wonderful irony of the rarest coins in existence. They look just different enough to be fascinating to the trained eye, but just ordinary enough to fool everyone else. Beyond the striking error, the most valuable known examples of the 1980 Lincoln penny carry additional characteristics that compound their rarity exponentially. Some specimens show evidence of being struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the blank disc of metal that was fed into the press was not the standard zinc-coated copper planchet that Lincoln cents were transitioning toward in this era, but rather a leftover planchet from another denomination entirely, creating a coin with completely wrong weight, wrong metal composition, wrong thickness, and yet bearing the unmistakable design of a 1980 Lincoln cent, a coin that should be impossible by every standard of mint production and yet exists, physical and real and authenticated, a tangible proof that even the most sophisticated industrial processes in the world are not immune to the beautiful chaos of human error. And let's talk about that transition for a moment, because it is absolutely critical to understanding why 1980 is such a fascinating year for Lincoln penny errors. 1980 was the last full year before the United States Mint made one of the most significant changes in American coin composition in the 20th century, because in 1982, the Lincoln cent changed from being made of 95% copper to being made of zinc with only a thin copper plating, a change driven by the rising cost of copper that had made it more expensive to produce a penny than the coin was actually worth, and this transition period created an environment inside the mint where different planchets, different materials, and different production standards were all in flux simultaneously, a perfect storm of manufacturing variables that increased the likelihood of spectacular errors escaping into circulation. And the 1980 D Lincoln penny stands right at the edge of that storm, produced in the final years of the old copper era, surrounded by change and uncertainty and the kind of industrial chaos that gives birth to the coins that rewrite the record books. Now, when a coin like this surfaces in the collecting community, the reaction is nothing short of seismic. Imagine the moment when a numismatist, an expert who has spent decades studying coins, first holds a confirmed 1980 D Lincoln penny with multiple compounding errors and examines it under magnification, tracing the evidence of a die cap strike, measuring the weight and finding it impossibly wrong for what the coin is supposed to be, checking the metal composition and discovering it doesn't match anything it should. The combination of excitement and disbelief and almost religious awe that washes over that person in that moment is something that coin collectors describe as one of the most profound experiences of their lives, because they are holding living, physical proof that history made a mistake and that mistake survived, endured, and became something priceless. The auction history surrounding specimens of this coin reads like a financial thriller, bidding wars that stretch for hours, telephone bidders from 3 continents competing simultaneously, hammer prices that shatter previous records and leave auction house staff standing in stunned silence, and then the inevitable explosion of media coverage. The news articles and magazine features and online forums that erupt with a combination of celebration and disbelief and the desperate, frantic question that millions of ordinary people suddenly find themselves asking: could I have one of these? Could there be a 1980 D Lincoln penny hiding somewhere in my possession right now, in a collection I inherited, in a box of old change I've never properly sorted through, in a roll of pennies I've been meaning to take to the bank for years? And the answer, the genuinely, thrillingly true answer, is that it is possible. It is absolutely possible, because these coins were never recovered en masse, they were never systematically pulled from circulation, they exist in unknown quantities in unknown locations, scattered across the country in the hands of people who have absolutely no idea what they might be sitting on, and that possibility, that slim but real possibility, is what makes the world of rare coin collecting one of the most electric, most obsessive, most life-consuming hobbies known to humanity. Think about the people who have actually found coins like this, ordinary people, not professional collectors, not wealthy investors, but regular men and women who happen to look a little more carefully, who happen to know just enough to recognize that something was different, something was special, something was worth getting a second opinion on, and whose lives were transformed overnight from ordinary to extraordinary simply because they paid attention when everyone else was looking away. There was a woman in Ohio who found a dramatic error penny in a jar that had been sitting in her late mother's basement for 30 years. She almost threw the whole jar away during a cleaning session, almost tossed it into a donation box without looking, but something made her stop, something made her pour the coins out onto the kitchen table and look through them one by one, and what she found sent her to a coin dealer the next morning and eventually to a major auction house where what she had discovered sold for a figure that made national news. There was a retired schoolteacher in Texas who received a handful of change at a gas station and noticed immediately that one penny felt different, weighed differently in his palm, had a look and a feel that was just slightly, inexplicably off from every other penny he had ever handled in his 67 years of life, and his instinct to follow that feeling, to take it to an expert rather than spending it or setting it aside, led to a discovery that funded his entire retirement and then some. These are not fairy tales. These are documented, verified, real-world accounts of the kind of life-changing discovery that the existence of coins like the 1980 Lincoln penny makes genuinely possible for anyone watching this video right now. The coin world has a saying that the best place to find a rare coin is wherever you haven't looked yet, and there has never been a truer statement in the history of the hobby, because the reality is that the greatest numismatic treasures in existence are not all locked away in private vaults or museum cases. Many of them are still out there, still circulating, still hiding in plain sight, still waiting for the person who knows what to look for and takes the time to actually look. So what should you look for if you want to identify a potentially valuable 1980 Lincoln penny? First, you look for that D mint mark, that small letter D position just below the date on the front of the coin, confirming it was struck at the Denver Mint. Without that D, you are looking at a Philadelphia coin and a completely different category of potential rarity. Then you examine the overall appearance of the coin. Does anything look wrong? Does the design seem distorted, doubled, or somehow sculptural in a way that normal coins are not? Does the coin feel heavier or lighter than it should? Does the metal have a color or sheen that seems different from the typical copper appearance of a standard 1980 Lincoln cent? Any of these signs, any of these tiny, almost imperceptible signals of wrongness, of beautiful, valuable wrongness, could be pointing you towards something extraordinary. And if you find something that makes you stop and stare, if you find a 1980 Lincoln penny that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up for reasons you can't quite articulate, do not spend it, do not clean it, do not polish it or attempt to improve its appearance in any way. Cleaning a rare coin can destroy a significant portion of its value in an instant, and the preservationist in every serious collector will tell you that a coin should be submitted exactly as found to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, where it will be examined, authenticated, graded, and sealed in a protective holder that preserves both the coin and its certified status for all time. Because the $48 million value attached to the most spectacular known examples of the 1980 Lincoln penny assumes a coin in extraordinary condition, a coin that has been handled with the reverence and care that its true nature deserves. A coin that has been protected from the moment of its discovery and submitted through proper channels to receive the authentication and grading that transforms it from an interesting-looking penny into a certified, undeniable, world record level numismatic treasure. The 1980 Lincoln penny is the grand finale of today's presentation, not just because of its staggering $48 million valuation, not just because of its extraordinary combination of compounding mint errors and historical timing, but because of what it represents. It represents the eternal human truth that the most extraordinary things in life are often hiding in the most ordinary places. That fortune does not always announce itself with fanfare and drama but sometimes slips quietly into your life through a gas station cash register or a jar of old pennies or a coin collection you inherited from someone who never knew what they had, and that the difference between finding that fortune and missing it forever is nothing more than attention, knowledge, and the decision to look carefully at the things most people ignore completely. So check your coins, search your collections, empty your jars, look through every penny you own with fresh eyes and new knowledge, because somewhere out there, in a drawer or a piggy bank or a forgotten corner of someone's home, a 1980 Lincoln penny worth $48 million is waiting, and the only question that remains, the only question that truly matters as we close out today's incredible journey through the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, is whether the person who finds it next is going to be you.